thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to give this presentation. I hope you had a nice lunch break. So the talk that I will share with you will deal with first modeling and then agroecological protection. So we saw already in the morning 2 presentations about modeling. Yeah, thank you. And so I think it will resume. And the other objective is to present 2 innovative tools that allows for non-specialists of modeling to be able to design their own model, to share them and to use them. And so I hope it will be a possibility to generate collaboration. And maybe for the overall audience, I think it's good if everybody cuts the telephone, because I noticed this morning there were many phone calls, so it's good if everybody put on the mute, please. Okay. So let's start. So first of all, why modeling? So I think we already had some explanation by Frédéric, but I try to sum up some idea, because the question is general. It's not specific to plant protection or to agronomy even. It's used in all type of activities for human beings. So one important goal of modeling is to better understand the behavior of a given system. Okay, very simple. Another goal of modeling is to gather existing knowledge and identify knowledge gap. So for research it's very important, because once you have expert knowledge or knowledge from the literature, it's a way to gather in one place the information, like what you saw either for potato forecast or also for cyst nematode in the last presentation. Then we have another important use of model is to support decision making, to predict the behavior of a system under a given management. So for instance, if you want to know when to apply a fungicide, it's important to have a model to know, okay, it's now that the disease is really increasing very fast and you should apply your fungicide. Then another objective of developing model is to teach and to train. It's very easy when you have students to explain a system and to make them use a model or to present the model, and it's a very efficient way for teaching. And at last, it's also a very efficient tool to communicate. In the past, we had designed some models with video outputs, and some extensionists use them in order to go to farmer place and explain some consequences of their cropping practices. So to me, it's the 5 main reasons of why we are using model. So just briefly, what are the key stages of a modeling project? The first stage is very important, is called the problem shaping. What is the question? It seems to be obvious, but it's not always the case, so we have to really think deeply about that. Who are the final end users? And if at all possible, it's very nice if you can include the end users in the process of model development. And also you have to think about what are the available sources of knowledge. Then come the phase of conceptual modeling. I don't know if you understand what I mean by conceptual. You just, when you go on a white paper and you draw arrows and blocks and you say, okay, this variable should play a role in this system, and it's a very important phase of a modeling project. Then once you design a conceptual model, you have to translate this conceptual model into a simulation model. So usually it's done with mathematics, but you can do many types of options. You can do partial equations, you can do mechanistic equations with derivatives and so on. So it's an affinity. You can use statistical approaches. It's a whole world. Then before providing advices to farmers, it's usually a good idea to have some estimate of the quality of prediction of the model that you're using. Because if your model does not predict correctly the reality, you might provide bad advices to farmers. So it's an important phase. Then it's a little bit technical. I don't know if it rings a bell to you. I'm sure for Frédéric it does. So it's to perform sensitivity and uncertainty analysis in order to understand what is the impact of the uncertainty of your input variables and what are the most important parameters in your model. Then you can re-estimate or estimate the parameters of the model. Then you can launch and run simulations. And then once you're happy with your model, you can disseminate, share it. So it's the main phase of a modeling project. And of course, it's not linear. You have a loop, because all these stages are in interactions and you always go back to your model. And it's also a nice way to interact between data sets provided by experiments or observations and the model being developed. So I talk about modeling, but I did not explain what is a model. So there is an agreed general definition. It's very simple. A model is a simplified representation of reality. So you see, with that definition, okay, it can include mathematical models, but also if I don't know, I take some painting and I try to paint the audience now, I will try to represent in a simplified way the reality of the room. So it's also a model, okay? So using that, I will try to show you some ideas about modeling using a famous painting from a French painter of the 19th century. So I don't know if you have ever seen this painting. It's called The Gleaners by Millet. Do you know what are the gleaners? You know, it's people who go on the field and to pick up the grains that were left after harvest. So here you have this painting, and you have three ladies who pick up grains after harvest. So this is one vision of agriculture. The idea of the painter was to show how hard was the life in the countryside in the 19th century. So you see the bodies, they are in a painful position, and you see the colors are darker in the front, and in the back you can see big harvest. And so it's a way to show the differences between the rich farmers who own their farm and workers who are not rich and who has to take the food left on the soil in order to eat. So what I want to stress is that, so okay, if we agree with the definition, this is a model of reality. But the painter used a technique here using painting, but some years before he used another technique. He used some acid on copper and he made the same idea. So he made another model using another technique. So just to show you that models can be designed using different techniques. So it's one first idea. And there is another idea I would like to express, is that this is another painting from another painter. Okay, the colors are not so great on the screen, but usually the colors are brighter. And you can see it's another vision of agriculture, because here, you know, the ladies, they come back home with a lot of grains left at sole surface, and the bodies are straight. And it's just to show you that modeling is also a point of view. You can see that it's the same scene, gleaners, and here it's a point of view, and here it's another point of view. So it means that if you are interested to model a system, you will have many ways of modeling it, either by having different point of view, and this is very important when you consider conceptual modeling, or using different techniques. Okay, so it's two things. So imagine that Millet, if he was not a painter, and actually if he had been a modeler, instead of painting, maybe he would have said, okay, I will think about making a conceptual model. So I just, to exemplify the idea, I designed for him a conceptual model of gleaners. So I say, okay, what I want to predict is the total biomass collected on the field by my 3 gleaners. And then I stop and I think what will be important to predict that. Well, it will depend, of course, of the number of gleaners in the field. It will also depend on the field area, what will be the working time of the gleaners, also what are the number of grains left at soil surface after harvest. And this will define biomass collected by gleaner per unit time and per unit area. And then it depends also on the physical thickness of a gleaner. So if you are not familiar with that, here is maybe, if it's the first time you see, a conceptual model. So what I want to show you now is how to translate a conceptual model into a simulation model. So here is an example. I can simply state an equation. I will say that the biomass that is collected in the field will depend on the number of the gleaners multiplied by a function that will describe the quantity of grains collected by the gleaners. And it will depend on the physical fitness of the gleaners and the density of grains. And in my equation, I said the bigger the field, the bigger will be the grain collected. So I multiply by S. And also this will be the working time, delta T. So it's very simple. I had my conceptual model and now I made, so this is called a static model because you don't have the impact of the time. So this is the name of the second painter, Breton. Okay, but like I said, here you remember I can use different techniques. So I say, okay, this model is not bad, but I would like to know at each hour of the day what is the biomass collected. So then I will introduce a dynamic model. So it's easy, I just integrate as a function of time the same equation, because the number of gleaners and the field surface does not change over time. I can move it from the integration. So you see, one conceptual model, I already made 2 different models, one static, one dynamic. And why not? We can have fun. A third example, I can decide to design a spatially explicit representation of the grain distribution. So it's the blue dots in the field here. And so if there is no spatial distribution, I can call that a 2-dimensional isotropic model. And I can say that, okay, the gleaners are represented by individual based model who are not coordinated and who follow a Brownian trajectory. So it's some assumption that I'm making. And then I can make some stochastic simulation using some program. So just, okay, one conceptual model, 3 different models. Okay, so now if we go back to agronomy, I try to stress the complexity of our system. Here, in this purple rectangle, you have a representation of a field. So in a field, you will find soil with physical and chemical properties, and crop. It can be one monocrop, or it can be intercrops, or it can be crop with non-harvested plants also. And this is under the influence of all the biological components. So you will have pests. And in my word, when I say pests, it's not only animal pests, but also plant pathogens and weeds, okay, and beneficials or other living organisms. And then you have microclimate, both for the soil and the crop. But this system, you know, it's already quite complex. In addition, it's open, because it has some influences from the landscape. Some pests can come from the field of your neighbor, if you're a farmer, and it's also under the influence of weather, okay? And what is very important is the cropping practices applied to the field that will have impact on all these interactions. So according to a set of social, economic, and environmental drivers, the farmers will have some perception and cognition that will lead to cropping practices, and then it will end up to have a vector of social, environmental, and economic performances. So It's a very simplified representation of what's going on in an agroecosystem, but you can see that there are many arrows, many boxes, and so on. And models can help handle high level of complexity. If we go back to crop protection, there is an important concept called agroecological crop protection. So we wrote 2 books about it, one in English, which is presented here, and we provided a definition. If you are interested by words in the field of agroecology, in my lab we developed this dictionary, and there is a 1-page definition of ACP. And the basic message is that ACP, agroecological crop protection, is the declination of agroecology to crop protection. And we also wrote a paper, you see there are many authors, in order to propose the basic principle of ACP. And there is also an online training tool in order to help students to understand what is agroecological crop protection. So it takes about 8 hours to perform the training session. I have to introduce another concept. I don't know if you're familiar with that in India, is the concept of ESR. So efficiency, substitution, redesign. Efficiency, it's when you optimize pesticide use. So it can be just modifying the nozzle that you're using for spraying, or it can be using decision support system to decide when and which pesticide use. Substitution is when you replace a pesticide use by, for instance, a biocontrol application, or if you have some physical protection, it will be substitution. And redesign is when you change the cropping system. So you change the rotation, or you introduce new crops. So it's deeper changes in your system. So I need that because I used it in order to make a typology of the different objectives that we can have for modeling in crop protection. We can design farming warning systems, like we saw, so it deals with the efficiency or the substitution. We can design decision support system for chemicals or biological control. We can use that to design agroecosystem less susceptible to pests. Design strategy to preserve cultivar resistances, so you go for an understanding of the genetic structure of the pest population. You can also think about designing landscape management strategy to limit or to control a pest population. You can also use that if you have an architectural model to change the control strategy through changing the microclimate through the architecture management. You can use models to design ideotypes. You can perform yield losses analysis. You can perform analysis to analyze invasive species. You can work on analyzing the effect of climate change. You can assess multi-performances of ACP strategies in a multidimensional way. You can use modeling to design sampling strategies for monitoring, optimizing the resources you have to do that. And you know, it's just examples, but there are many things that can be done with models. Now let's think about where we have knowledge to produce some advices or information for farmers. The first source of knowledge are experiments. Either it can be in the field or in the greenhouse or in the lab, but you set up a protocol, you set up an experimental plan, and you have data set. So it's a source, and it's a primary source of information. Another important way of producing knowledge in science is to observe. In some scientific fields, you cannot perform experiments. If you are studying planets, you cannot play with that and you cannot perform experiments, so you can just observe. And in the field of crop protection or agronomy, it's the same. You can go in commercial fields and ask the farmer what was his practices and just observe what's going on. And then you have what I call secondary sources of knowledge. You can read the scientific and technical literature, usually based on experiments and or observations. You can use existing models that also are a source of information. And also you have something that each brain of the room has its expert knowledge, because you went to the field, you also read many things, and each actor has some knowledge. So a farmer has its own expert knowledge. An advisor has also his expert knowledge, and such as and also researchers. So know how to integrate all this knowledge. So among the audience, who is found who likes to do mathematics? Thank you, Frédéric. So everybody can leave. No, it's the opposite. Because usually when working in the field of agronomy or biology, people are not really familiar with equations, mathematics. And about 10 or 15 years ago, I had a colleague who was actually a teacher, a professor in crop protection for 20 years. And she asked me if I could be her supervisor, which I was very happy about. And so we started to work on a PhD thesis, but I realized that first she was not at all interested by mathematics, and second, it was not her thing at all. So it's how we come up with the idea of designing models without using any equation. And it was very successful because many teams were able to use all that type of knowledge already existing, including expert knowledge, in order to design. So it's a very easy way to design models. So it's what we are doing is called injury profile simulator, because we wanted not only to address to one pest, but to be able to model all type of diseases, animal pests and weeds. So the basic idea is that the vector of injury profiles, injury severities, only depends on three components: soil and weather characteristic, the cropping practices, and the landscape. So we apply that on wheat production. You can see here 13 pictures, which represent 13 pests on wheat. But after we did another PhD on sunflower, we progressed more on the modeling methodology. It was used in 4 European projects, which are listed there, and we applied it to weeds or to rust on wheat and even to intercropping. And several teams, mostly French teams, use it for other crops, such as apple tree production, also chiots, pest on mango trees, and also we helped with colleagues from CIRAD in Costa Rica to design a coffee rust decision support system. And also we use this modeling platform for various trainings. So this one, a summer school in Italy that we adapted to Southeast Asia. And so these are some pictures. So I will just explain one presentation.
Yes, please.
So this is a chow chow, and it's a first collaboration with an Indian colleague. So thank you, Kavita. She took this picture in Uti yesterday. And I thought about this picture because we designed a model on chayot. So we designed it in Réunion Island. So it's a little bit closer than mainland France. It's about 5,000 kilometers from France, whereas from Paris to New Delhi it's 7,000 kilometers. So you have some pictures of Réunion Island. This is the chayot there. And in this island there were a big problem with fruit flies. And this is why we came up with the idea of designing the model IPSIM chayot. I will not go too much into detail, but it's a simple decision tree that you perform using expert knowledge, because there were not so many articles available. And this is what we call a confusion matrix, which represents the quality of prediction of the model. So if you're interested, there is a paper, and now I will try to switch to an online platform to demonstrate this modeling tool. Okay, so you can go online. You see we made it in 3 languages, so we can add Indian if you think that it's interesting. So how you use it, I will go quick. You just put here your own data in your own situation. So here you describe farming practices, then the fruit fly management, soil management, altitude, season, the presence or not of Docus ciliatus development, wild host plants presence, cucurbit crops in the area, and other crop in the area. So here I randomly selected some decision. We can select one together. So for instance, can I read? How much mineral fertilizer do you use on your land? Less than the recommended level, the recommended levels, or more than the recommended level? Which one would you like to input? More? Okay. Don't think about the environment. Okay, so you can see we can answer to each of the questions. So once you have answered all these questions, you can validate your input data, and you made your first simulation. So here you have the output. In the situation that we modeled, we have a very high level of infestation with fruit fly. And here, you know, we have bad farming practices and medium location of land and medium environment. And you can better understand if you develop the tree, and you can understand what's going on in your farm with a level of control of flies. So if you are not happy with that, you can go back to the input and say, okay, more maybe was not a good idea. What does it change if I go to a lower amount of nitrogen, for instance, or what will happen if I have another technique to control the fly? Okay. Now I will show you the second example. So this one is a little bit, so it's only for Frederick, because if you don't like mathematics, it will be a little bit harder. Now it's, you know, when you design a model, after you have to program either in R or in any type of programming language. So this platform was designed in order to provide a free and user-friendly platform to help people design their dynamic models, and also to share their models either with friends or to the world, and also to use them. So I'll go quickly. There are 4 sections. One, proposed tutorial and documentation. One is the list of models that the modelers decided to share with you. There is a modeling forge where you can enter some equations, and here there is a simulation center. I don't have time to go into details, but I can just show you the tutorial and documentation session. We made very nice and simple videos in order to present each of the functionality of the platform. So it's very self-explaining, and if you can record the address of this modeling platform. You can register. It's simple. You just type your email. You will receive an email and you validate it, and you have access to that. If you want to try, I will be happy to help you connect and have your first step in this. Okay, so I will just show you an example, and after I will conclude. So I go back to Keynote. So this is an example of use of Model Builder to help design some control strategies for aphids on cauliflower. Okay, so this is a field of cauliflower. I think you do have cauliflowers in India, because we had in the restaurant, so it's my guess. And so these are bad guys, the aphids. And this, with a simple model, we were able to design the development of aphid population. So using a very simple ecological model, a Lotka-Volterra model, very famous in ecology, we were able to analyze the effect of a strategy by establishing flower strips in the field of cauliflower, because it will attract ladybugs that will be able to control the aphid population. So here you have in blue the aphid population, and in black you have the ladybug population. So you can see dynamically after day 22 we already control all the aphids in the field. So we can understand that by modeling. We can also test another strategy. For instance, we can say what is happening when I apply two black soap treatments, one here and one there. So you can see the dynamic and the effect of black soap. However, after day 22, we still have a high level of increase. And after, you can make any complexity. You can say, okay, what is going on if I use not only flower strips, but also black soap treatments? So these are the two dynamics that are models. So using that, we can say, okay, if I compare the three strategies, the best one with regard to the efforts that are needed and the impact on it is just to use flower strips. So it's just example. You can make anything you want with a model, with a platform model builder, which is very generic. So in conclusion, the two platforms that I showed you, IPSIM and Model Builder, are free, they are open, and they are very user-friendly to design models, and they are made to help collaboration. So I hope maybe at the end of the workshop we'll be able to think about modeling project if you're interested. Modeling is not a silver bullet. Come in. It means that you always have to use other approaches such as experiments. However, even if it's not a silver bullet, it's always very useful when you organize and you structure research programs. And it helps building a bridge between scientific disciplines and various types of actors. And I would like to stress the importance of conceptual modeling. For me, it's the most important stage when you design a model. So, Nandri, for your attention. Thank you very much.
Long live India and France friendship.